Wi-Fi. It doesn't, even though I have really good Wi-Fi connection here. So it's like, I have no idea what the hell's going on. Anyway, so I was telling you, like 5 years ago, Naval Captain Jonas Taylor encountered the unknown danger in the unexplored recesses of the Mariana Trench, which is where the underwater lab is located. And in case you didn't know, the Mariana Trench is like the deepest trench in the ocean that we know of. I can't remember how deep it goes, but that is like the bottom of the bottom as far as we know. We don't know anything that goes deeper down than the Mariana Trench. And that forced him, so he encountered an unknown danger that forced him to abort his mission and abandon half his crew. And that is something that the movie basically opens with. There's a submarine that's stranded down there. He goes down there with 2 of his mates or something, or several mates, I can't remember. They're getting a bunch of people out of the submarine. He has to leave 2 of his mates in there because otherwise everyone would have died, which is obviously a horrendous thing to do. It's something that clearly shapes this character, which is why it's, you know, the opener and the exposition as to what his background is and stuff like that. And through the tragic incident, that earned him a dishonorable discharge, which ultimately cost him his career, his marriage, and any semblance of honor. Was his unsupported and incredulous claims of what caused this, because he was saying that there was an attack on this vessel by some kind of creature. Not that he could see it, but he saw something dent the side of the submarine, and that must obviously be something ginormous, right? So now when the submersible is sinking and is disabled at the bottom of the ocean, and funny enough, his ex-wife is on that submarine, because that's the kind of movie this is. It's like as cliche as it comes. And you know right from the get-go that this is what this movie is. And that's why it's a lot of fun, because it's like it's self-aware. It knows exactly what it is. It's an absolutely stupid shark movie. But that doesn't mean that it's not a lot of fun. So the ex-wife's on there, they're calling on him because for whatever reason everyone knows him. It's like there are certain things in the movie that are not really explained. Like I didn't even know that he was like an ex-marine or ex whatever. I didn't get that information from the movie, or maybe I wasn't paying attention. I have no idea. All I know is like he went on this mission, it went sideways, people blamed him for leaving 2 people in the sub, even though it is so fucking clear that they would have died. Everyone would have died if he hadn't left those people. It is so obvious, right? But no one wanted to listen to him, and he got debriefed, and no one listened to him, that there was something down there that was attacking everybody, and they were calling him a coward and all of that stuff. So he quit, so he's let go or whatever, and he lives somewhere in Thailand, whatever it is. Dishonorable discharge. He's basically turned into a bum, and that's where he is. And then it's like 5 years later, and we're on this awesome looking like underwater lab, which reminded me of Deep Blue Sea or The Abyss, you know. And they make this whole shtick about how Rainn Wilson shows up because he's like the billionaire who funds everything. And it's really funny. It's like in Deep Blue Sea, it's like the billionaire rocks up to inspect or just have a look at what he's paying for, and apparently he doesn't know what he's actually paying for. He's like, well, what about this, and what about this, and what are we doing here, and blah. It's like, dude, you gave these people $1 billion and you don't even know what it's for? Like, if I was a billionaire, even if I had like several $1 billion, but I'm pretty sure I would check what they're spending my money on, right? But it's the same thing in Deep Blue Sea as well, when Samuel L. Jackson walks up and it's like, and what is this, and what is that, and what are you actually doing here that I am giving you all this money for? It's that kind of movie, right? But it works because it's a lot of fun. So we have Jason Statham obviously starring, and we have Li Bingbing playing Sujin, who is basically the female lead, which is quite refreshing. There's a lot of Asian roles in this film. Like a lot of people are saying, it's basically a Chinese co-production. It is amazing because for me at first I didn't even pay attention to that, because I know that I'm really rubbish at like looking at race. I don't really see a lot of color. Um, but I am noticing this more and more now that I don't know, we have a lot of black people, we have a lot of Asian people, like especially with Asians, there's a lot in blockbusters. There's a lot more representation of Asian characters in blockbusters now because China is such a big market for blockbusters. Like I was saying earlier, the Meg just made $50 million in China alone over the opening weekend. It's a big ass market, right? And if that leads to more representation, I think that's definitely a good thing. So she basically plays the female lead. Because at first I thought it's oh, I didn't write that actress's name down, but the one that is stuck on the submarine, which is why Jason Statham shows up. I forgot his name now. Trevor? Jonas Taylor, that's what it was. Trevor. How are you doing, Trevor? So Jonas Taylor, so he just rocks up to basically save his ex-wife. Otherwise, he wouldn't have rocked up at all. And I thought that she might be the female lead, or maybe that there's no female lead whatsoever. But I really loved Li Bingbing because she's very charismatic, and she holds her own easily with Statham. You know, you're not sure who's more of a gung-ho go-getter, Statham or her. So that was really good to see. And I hope I'm gonna see her in more films because she was fantastic. There's a young actress called Sophia Kay who's playing Mei Ying, who is basically Su Jin's daughter, who's on the rig as well. And she's like the little girl in Ant-Man. She really knows how to work her scenes. She's really charismatic and cute and smart. Like, her addition in the cast is not necessarily just to be like the princess in distress or something, but she actually adds something to it. Most of the time it's just charming, you know, it's just really charming what she says. She's also, like a lot of kids are, she just doesn't do bullshit, right? She says what she's thinking. She immediately calls Jason Statham crazy because he's known to be crazy. So she nicknames him Crazy because everyone thinks that you're a big cuckoo. She calls it what what she sees, and I really love that. And there's some really cool scenes with her, and I really enjoyed her. I'm usually not much of a fan of child actors, especially if it's just one child actor amongst an entire ensemble of adult actors. It feels like very tacked on and stuff, but not here, and the same in Ant-Man as well. They really have the reason for being there, and they add something to it, and I really enjoyed that. She did really well. Ruby Rose is in this as a character called Jax, Jax, not triple X, but double X. See what I did there? And she apparently is the designer of the entire rig, the underwater rig that we're on, which is kind of cool. She has this weird hair. Like, seriously, the first time you see her as the character, you're just like, what's with the hair? That's kind of like everyone's first reaction. It's like, what's with the hair? It's really bizarre. I have no idea who thought of that, or is that making her look really designery and artsy? So I have no idea what the hell was up with that. But I liked her, and she actually added quite a lot to the proceedings of the movie. And I'm really glad. Like, I heard previously before I went to see the film that she's not in it very much. So I was expecting to see her in the background a bit here, in the background a bit there, and having 2 or 3 scenes. But she's actually in the entire film, so that was quite good. But she's just supporting. She's spouting some information, reading stuff. It's almost like Sigourney Weaver in Galaxy Quest. You know, she's regurgitating what the AI is saying. So she's saying what she sees on the displays and stuff. But she does a good job, and I always like seeing her. So I'm always happy to have Ruby Rose on the big screen. So I really enjoyed this film. It's not your ginormously amazing shark movie. Like, there are better shark movies out there, I have to say, right from the get-go. But I had a lot of fun with this. Also because they did like Fast and Furious with sharks. Is like, Jaws was just a big ass shark, right? Which is scary enough. And they were like, yeah, that's not going to fly in 2018. No one's going to give a shit. We had sharks flying up in tornadoes. It's like, what are we going to do? They're like, well, we'll just make the shark a lot bigger. Like, a lot. 75 foot bigger, right? And that really worked. And I also like the whole premise that they are at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, which, like I said, is like the deepest bit that we have ever gone to or that we are aware of on Earth. And apparently one of the scientists has this whole idea that what if the bottom of the Mariana Trench is not actually the bottom, but it's kind of like a layer that leads to something even lower. And they explain it in the film. I'm not going to bore you with that. So they go through that. And of course, it's not a bottom. It's just a layer and we go through it, right? And that is where the Meg lives and a lot of other things. And funny enough, is like that's kind of where the film almost like disappoints me a bit, because I wanted to see more from what else is under the layer. But I understand that for production purposes and for narrative purposes, we couldn't really bring out all the monsters that might be living down there, but we just brought out the Meg, right? And they explain why it's just the Meg that got up instead of everyone else. Because if you've seen the trailer, you know that the Meg is up here and swimming through some beach resort or whatever, so you know that it doesn't stay down there. And it's explained why that happens, even though that's like, psh. But that's exactly what this film is. This film is absolute bullshit. This film is so stupid, it's ridiculous. But it's fun. Because you're just there, it's like Pacific Rim, you're there to see big ass robots fight big ass kaiju. And here you just want to see a big ass shark eating a lot of people and things. And one of the things was that the shark's really big and it looks impressive and I really had a lot of fun with it. But it doesn't really destroy that much. I thought there'd be a lot more destruction and I don't know, maybe I've become desensitized with stuff, but I wanted there to be more. Like, for whatever reason, the Megalodon shows up at the rig that Ruby Rose's Jax constructed, yeah, and it's still not completely finished. There are certain bits that are still under construction. They've not really fully powered it up. And then the Meg shows up, and there's a really cool scene, and then nothing happens, and then all of a sudden the Meg is like up there, and then we're leaving the rig as well, and we're just going up there, and then we're above water, which obviously also makes it quite interesting. But I think a shark movie is the most interesting when you're below water, not below, when you're underwater, in water, right? That's when you see all the shit that's happening around you, and that's when you can get like the really cool shots, and what's the word? You can't see very far underwater, right? But fish and sharks work totally different, so they can sense you from like hell knows how many miles away. But our vision is very blurred and very impaired underwater, and that makes for really interesting visuals. And those bits in the movie are really, really good, and I really enjoyed them. But there weren't enough of them, which I was very disappointed with. Because I was thinking, like I said, I was thinking of Deep Blue Sea, and I was thinking of Abyss. Not that The Abyss is a shark movie, but you know what I mean. And it looks amazing, but there's just not enough of it. And then we're immediately going above water, and that's when it kind of turns into a poor man's Jaws, where you see the fin, and I was like, that's a bit of a small fin. And, you know, it didn't look as imposing as it did originally underwater. And there's like some really cool stuff with when they're on the rig and the shark is trying to get in, and like some really awesome bits, but they're abandoning the entire thing so quickly that I felt like I feel sorry for the people that built those sets, because you're not really using them, which was a bit of a letdown, because I really would have liked to have seen more. They're making this whole thing about how Ruby Rose's character designed the entire thing and how impressive it is and how awesome it is. But the problem is we never get to see it. So you don't have to tell me how fucking impressive this rig is if you never show me why it is fucking impressive. I get to see underwater, great. I can do that at the London Aquarium. That doesn't make it that impressive. So that felt like a bit of like a shortcoming and a bit of a letdown. And then stuff that happens above water is really cool, because it kind of turns, like I said, into Jaws, but like a poor man's Jaws. It's like the suspense and the thrill is just not as cool as in the original, obviously, even though the shark is a lot bigger. And at the end, it just goes a bit bonkers as well. And we have this whole thing. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not spoiling anything. I really don't want to spoil it for anyone. So if you like a shark movie, just go and see it. I think you'll be perfectly entertained. Don't bother with 3D. I've just watched it in 3D. It didn't really add anything to it, which I thought was quite disappointing. There's one really funny bit where I had to laugh out loud because it was in 3D as well. If you've seen the trailer, you know that there's a very heavily populated beach where the shark shows up, right? And then you've got someone in a ball and he starts running away from the shark. And there's just a really funny bit when the shark gets close to the dude with the ball that I don't want to spoil for you, but you'll know exactly what I mean. You know, ball, shark, funny things happen. But yeah, there's like a lot of good stuff in there. But overall, I felt like it could have been more engaging, you know. Is that fair enough? I watched it this afternoon. There wasn't a lot of people in there. This is definitely a movie you want to watch when the entire cinema is booked out and everyone's having fun with it. When shit is happening, people going, oh my god, people laughing and screaming and all of that stuff. That's the kind of movie it is, right? This is not a quiet movie. So I think I might actually go and see it again, maybe at like a prime time showing, like at 8 p.m. or something like that, just to have a full cinema and see how that goes. Because I think this would be a lot better if the audience is a lot more into it. The only one that seemed to be into it was me. So I was in my chair going like, oh my god, and jumping here and jumping there and laughing at this and going, oh my god, I can't believe you just said that. It's very cliche and stuff, but it's also, it's because it knows that it's cliche and that it's predictable and it's stupid and it's silly, and it fully embraces that and just dishes out a huge chunk of shark movie. That's why you go and see it. So I had a lot of fun with that. Yeah, we talked about 5 years later. There are also obviously really annoying things in there. It's like when they go through that layer, like I said, they go down that layer. And the submarine gets stranded because the Meg doesn't like lights. It's like, it's not the first time that someone goes really deep in the ocean and the creatures down there don't like it when you suddenly put a flashlight into their fucking face. So one of the scientists or the pilot, the ex-wife, she's like, shit, we need to turn the lights off. It's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. No fucking shit. And she is on the radio with people and she's like, there's something down there. And then rescue operation goes down there and something bonks into the rescue operation and the rescue operation goes, there's something down there. It's like, yeah, no shit. The other people already told you there's something down there. It's not news. It's old news. So it's like, wow. So this is definitely something. If it comes out on Netflix, this is the perfect party movie. And yeah, you have like jumpy moments. You have great visual effects. I really like what the shark looked like. It did remind me of Jaws, just like bigger Jaws. And yeah, I think it's going to do great in China and stuff. I love the whole thing when they go to the beach and they introduce the beach and how overpopulated that fucking beach is. And I was like, this looks like a nightmare. Like the shark chasing after me is a nightmare. But going to a beach that's that overpopulated, equal nightmare. So I was like, well, what if the Meg is just here to sort out the virus that is mankind and just needs to jump down on a bunch of people? Because there's clearly way too many of us. Yeah, the little girl was awesome. The Chinese lead was awesome. The thing with Ruby's hair, they even make the token black guy in this. He even comments on Ruby's hair. It's like, what happened to your hair? It's like, what happened to yours? It's just like silly, stupid shit like that. I love the stupid scientific explanation they have for the layer and the Meg going through the layer and all of that stuff. It's just whatever. No one cares. We're just here to see a big shark chomp down on shit. And it's awesome. And if you've seen the trailer, there's quite a lot of spoilers in there, which is very, very unfortunate. Because I was watching the movie and I was like, that's bullshit. I I don't want to give too much away, but you kind of go like, we're only halfway through the film, this can't be it, and blah blah blah, and then something happens and you're like, bam, there it is. I saw that in the trailer. I was just waiting for that to happen. That's why you know that certain things are not what they appear to be, which is a bit of a letdown and makes the movie even more predictable than it is anyway. But it makes for some really cool stuff as well. Like some of the action sequences are great. And I just really like how people are working together. I love that this time around the black guy is not the one who's got all the sass and goes like, let's fight this bitch. No, he's like, well, maybe we shouldn't go to where the thing is. Maybe we should go the other way. So there's like a lot of stuff there that is really, really cool. Yeah, also there are some very, very convenient close calls in this film, like ridiculously close calls. Like several times you go like, dude, Jason Statham must have been chomped down already. It's like, and it's literally like the shark's right here and it's about to devour him, and then something keeps the shark away. And it's just, obviously for cinematography reasons, it's like, he's trying to eat him, and it's like, this is just ridiculous. I would have like, if I was him, I would have pissed my pants 50 million times ago. It's a lot of fun because it's stupid. If you want anything to be realistic, this is not going to work for you. I think Jaws is definitely more realistic in its approach, what you would actually do if there was like one ginormous shark coming after you. So this is not it. This is definitely absolute no-brainer, stupid bullshit, but it knows it and embraces it, and that's why it's a lot of fun. I wish there were more underwater scenes because I love underwater scenes and I think they look fantastic and they work a lot of with suspense and thrill. Certain things are being introduced and you know exactly they're only being introduced because 20 minutes down the line they're going to be shark food, which is very unfortunate. There's some very upsetting scenes in there as well. It's a 12A, and I was a tiny bit concerned to have that be a 12A. Obviously, it depends on the child. There might be children that are perfectly fine with things. But you see that shark chomping on a lot of things. So yeah, just be aware of that maybe. If your kid's fine watching Jaws, then it should be fine watching this, I hope. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening there. I wish we had seen a bit more of the Megalodon. There's some really cool scenes to do with like a diving cage and stuff, an indestructible diving cage, which is actually indestructible, no spoiler. And all these things about like, yeah, we're so like our science and our technology and yada yada yada, and still this Megalodon is just there. So it's a lot of fun, but I think it could have been a lot more spectacular. Maybe if it was a bit more underwater, but then you're a bit more constrained in what you can do and stuff. So yeah, overall I had a lot of fun with it, and I think I might actually go and check out Screen X, which is a new thing they have at Cineworld here at the O2. To watch like something on 3 screens at once, which is kind of weird. The Meg is one of the films that are screening in that particular screen, so I might check that out. But yeah, overall I had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, there's some really stupid things in there. Just to give you a rough idea, it's like, so I was talking about how Statham lost 2 of his best friends in like the first 5 minutes, right, because of the mission that just went a bit shit, and he talks about this and how horrible it was and life changing and everything, and not even 5 minutes later he has a scene with the little girl and his ex-wife, and the girl and the ex-wife are basically trying to tell him that he should ask out the Chinese lady because she's awesome, and I agree, she's awesome. And he's like, that's the worst moment of my life. And I'm like, dude, seriously, less than 5 minutes ago you were talking about how you just lost your best 2 friends like 5 years earlier, and it's shaped your life and everything's just gone tits up. But is this the worst moment in your life? Who fucking wrote this shit? It's like, what? So, yeah. like I said, best viewed with a big audience. Make sure you go on a really busy night, Friday night, Saturday night, maybe Sunday, I'm not sure. I usually go to the cinema when it's not busy because I hate it when people are on the fucking phones. But just have a look at it. Quickly, before I get on, so The Meg, my movie of the week, because it's actually a lot of fun. If you want to watch a really good shark movie and you have Netflix, watch The Shallows. If you want to watch a shark movie in the cinema, watch The Meg. And now quickly, onto The Darkest Minds, which is a film that didn't create a lot of hoopla.